what I'm loving about gold, I mean, gold to me is I never directly invest in gold anymore. To me, gold is an indicator, and what I've been loving is that we've been talking about the dollar, waiting for the dollar to confirm its bearish trend in order to invest in inflation sensitive assets or assets that increase with liquidity, and seeing the dollar has fallen. Forgive me, let me just get it here. The dollar is back down to essentially the 100 level, right? So if we talked about, I think it was last week, that what I was essentially looking for is this bear flag, right? I wanted the price to come down over here, bounce around in here, and then break down, because we're not going to break this 100 level with a simple move down. It's been support for years now, and so I don't even care how long we stay sideways over here, because the longer we stay sideways, the more I'm convinced that we then break suddenly. And gold and Bitcoin has responded accordingly. So we've had gold that's gone up and to the right, and now we're having Bitcoin right on cue here, hitting on the support. So it's right on this trend, and now Bitcoin's headed back up to test. Now we do have to break this level over here at 60,000. We'd have to break again this one over here at 69, and then again at 75, like we've talked about, to confirm. But what I like is being able to tell that, yeah, it is because the dollar turned and we hit right at this level. And when we had this, when that stuff coincides, where the dollar's fallen, but Bitcoin has risen right on a pivot that you would expect it to pivot on, that to me is usually a sign that now we're at the start of a trend, or at least 1 month to 3 month short-term trend that'll continue, and that's a bet you can take. And so that's what I've been doing since the bottom here, betting on a rise on Bitcoin from the lows here.
Copy that. Yeah,
how much
I'm seeing the same thing.
Yeah. So are you finding any meat to this move up, or is this to you? Oh, this could just as easily be another lower high, and we roll over down to the downside.
Yeah, I think at least with this this little consolidation range here, that I would argue we're kind of range bound. I mean, it's a fairly large range, but we keep touching these rejections off of an attempt at retesting a recent high, and it's those consistent rejections that have me concerned. So I would want to see it push past at least the 65.3 mark on Bitcoin's price, which is the most recent rejection price, to continue on from there. So this point here is what I'm looking at. I want to see us get past here. And I think that is pretty bullish, because that is the most recent high that would post a new high. That could be pretty interesting. Obviously, I tend to look at some of the shorter term moving averages. We've just closed above the 8 EMA. That's pretty promising. We've obviously found some support from this particular range of price, and that's also promising. But I want to see some higher highs.
Understood. What I find fascinating is that you've sort of like influenced my current trading style, because just opening my eyes up to VWAP, and to me, I love being able to count on. I have levels to where I think price will go, but then I had difficulty figuring out up until where it would reverse, and now being able to be like, okay, I could place a bet that it'll reverse probably all the way to VWAP. Makes me look for that extension away from it, and then a reversion back to VWAP. I'm very excited to read the book that you recommended to me.
Oh, cool! I'm glad you got a copy.
Yeah. I looked at about it online, and people are like raving about how. I mean, for God's sakes, John Bollinger has a blurb at the back saying that, hey, new innovations are rare in technical analysis, but he thinks that Brian Shannon here hit on one. When I saw that, I was like, hey, I got to be buying that book.
Yeah.
I will make a bunch of indicators for TradesPost.
I'd love to work with you on those, especially in most of the book really kind of covers his technique for deciding on the position to measure from for anchored VWAP, because it's obviously different than session VWAP or some fixed time range. When you use anchored VWAP, you've got to make a choice about where you anchor from, and you can anchor from reversals, you can anchor from demand zones, or from from volume spikes, but I think you'll be impressed with the many different ways he has different lenses for where he makes his decision to position VWAP, but then also how he layers anchored VWAP on top of itself. So to find a trend, he's using multiple instances of increasing longer and then progressively shorter lengths of anchored VWAP in order to estimate a trend.
So that's what got me really excited, because the system that I use, my moving averages, I didn't realize were essentially that layered VWAP with
Mm.
multiple different anchors all working together. And I was always very surprised, how is this working so accurately? Like the formula that I used, I haven't read the book yet because I just got it like 20 minutes before we went on air. But I was watching his talks or his interviews, and my system does not require deciding where to anchor a VWAP. It covers every possible sort of like range. I didn't realize that was the case, because the formula that I'm using generates all the different levels from down to milliseconds up to hundreds of years, and I just choose a subsection for the charts. And I had programmed it before I even tried it on a chart. I didn't even think it could work on a chart. I just dreamt about it when in a dream, and I coded it, and then it just so happened to generate these waves. And to see now an explanation for why that works makes you really, really excited, because it's hard to bet real money on something when you're like, well, I just dreamt about how to do this. Now I can actually read something that'll explain it to me. So
Yeah.
thank you very much for that.
Yeah, very much, and a big shout out to Brian Shannon on the book as well. He's a CMT in the space, which, for those that are not familiar, is a chartered market technician, which, in my opinion, is the gold standard for accreditation or really designation for being a technical analyst. It's a program that I'm currently engaged in. I'm working on level 2 next, and hoping to pass it in the coming months here.